welcome back to another episode from the Earth Dwellers channel. Today we are looking at our pumpkins. We had these up in the front of our house, and the trick to keeping these nice and preserved for our chickens later on into the winter here is keeping them in the shade. We do not preserve them in bleach. We do not do any preservation other than keeping them in the shade. We put all these out for the fall holidays. We grow them specifically for that reason. And once we are done with them, we like to pull them up in a shady spot once it starts to get cold, and they do not decompose. This one here was in the sun. It was covered with snow, but it was in the sun for the most part. So this is what happens when it's in the sun. It decomposes and breaks down to a flat, rotten pumpkin. These ones are still pretty well preserved. These are nice fresh pumpkins. I'm gonna get these broken up, and I'm gonna sprinkle some of their fresh grains and scratch grains. Got some millet, got some corn, got some wheat in there. And after I get these broken up onto their compost pile, we are gonna pop this compost pile open here, and we're gonna throw it into their run. I want to pause for 1 second and take a look at all of these pumpkin seeds. They are preserved very well. These will probably grow in the spring if they find their way in the soil. So all of these pumpkin seeds provide a nice nutritious meal for our chickens, and these also help flush any worms or parasites out of their systems. A win-win for us, all free food, great compost. Let's move over here and get this pile torn up. Our chickens are grabbing multiple sprouts in here before I can even show you guys. So the top 6 inches of this was a little bit frozen, but everything else in this pile is nice and warm. I saw the chickens grabbing sprouts and worms, all types of good stuff. So I'm gonna throw this in here, and then I'll bring you guys. We'll be able to work that, and it will stay nice and warm in there. They're finding all types of food, free forage, getting worms, getting sprouts. Very easy to do. Takes a little bit of work creating your piles and moving them, but really I could have been lazy about it, and I could have just pulled this tarp off and let the chickens scratch it all around and just kind of raked it back into a pile and let them do it again. And eventually they break it all down so fine that you can compost it one time and it'll cook hot, and the material's already so small that it breaks down very fast, and you have fresh finished compost. Not too hot from chicken nitrogen, because chicken poo is very high in nitrogen. You always want to compost your chicken poo because it will burn your plants. After it's composted, it's very, very nutritious. Good for your plants, will not burn them, keeps them growing healthy and strong. So we are still continually making compost, running compost. These chickens are tearing up fresh ground, and it's like 13 degrees out today. I'm absolutely freezing. These chickens are nice and warm. They're getting to tear up all this fresh, warm compost. Working on this warm ground here. This free little tunnel I built out of recycled materials has proven to be very, very useful for our chickens this winter. They really like to be warm in here and have this to run all of their compost through. She's chatting at me. She's very happy. I just thought everybody would like to see the process of starting fresh compost. We're going to let that run for a few days. They'll break all that down, and we'll come out and turn everything and pile it up and slowly bring it this way. As the chickens spread it out and we rake it back together, it will finish here. We will pile it all up, and then we will tarp it. It will be another compost pile getting pushed in here in the spring. We will take this tarp off and pull all this compost out of here. We have an absolute ton. We've probably got 5, 6, 7 wheelbarrows full of compost in here working all the time. You a happy hen? I hope everybody enjoyed this little chicken video. I am going to throw some of these scratch grains down in here, so when it gets piled back up, we will have more sprouts for them to eat when we break it apart.